Hello, everyone. I'm here with Haittam Greib. Haittam, if you could introduce yourself and the company you represent, we'll kick off with that.
Sure. My name is Haittam Greib. It's pronounced like saying hi to your thumb.
Love that.
And I'm with Prestige Worldwide Logistics
And how long have you been operating that company?
since 2011.
2011. So we are at 14 years, a little over a
Yep.
decade.
Yep.
So you've gone through a few cycles of the market, I can imagine. But what got you into the logistics space in the first place? Was that your background, family, perhaps business in the past? What moved you towards that space?
Um, I was pre-med. Wanted to be a doctor. First generation Palestinian American. If you're not a doctor, attorney, or engineer, in the eyes of the parents, you're basically no good. So I had to pick one of those. Hence pre-med, right? They made the most money. I was most capable. Halfway through college, I realized I was capable, but not willing to continue. So I said, how am I going to get into the entrepreneurial world with a biology degree and switch to pharmaceutical sales? And life gives you apples, you make lemonade kind of thing. Didn't go down the pharmaceutical sales route like I hoped. And I needed to build a sales brag book to kind of show my worth. I was obviously educated, but I didn't have a sales brag book. So I just started taking on jobs at corporate America. After several corporate American jobs where I was top sales rep, I said I could do this myself. I've always had, that will since I was a kid. I would see people's lawn cut and I would say I could cut it better. Or if I did it this way, I'll go to a taco shop. Oh, if they just moved the chairs this way since I was a kid. So, um, after trying to prove the parents right, go get a job, go to school, get a job, do your whole American dream thing. I basically said, you know what? I'm gonna run with something, and that something turned out to be logistics. So it wasn't from family. It's just being at the right place at the right time.
I was about to ask you, how's the dynamic in the beginning with between your family, especially parents? Because I remember when I started doing something on my own, wasn't fun at all, if you can say it. I mean, it was like no contact at all, rather than no fun at all. But I wasn't in the pre-med school, so I'm curious to hear your story.
My parents always wanted me to be happy, right? Like they want the best for their kids. They know what they know. They don't know what they don't know. So anything they don't know, they're scared of. So they're gonna try to steer you away from that. So there was a hurdle to overcome. They were scared of the unknown. Am I going to succeed? Is this a bad decision? You're making good money. Why would you go risk it? Do you even know what you're talking about? Do you know how to manage money? My dad literally told me. I remember I was at like Outback, I think it was. There's two parts actually about this Outback. I should tell two stories at one. One part is how I became an entrepreneur. I was top sales rep and I was out on a date and I was second guessing if I could afford a Caesar salad at Outback. I'm like, this doesn't make sense. So that was one push. Similarly, I don't know what it was with Outback, but Outback had a lot of epiphanies at the time. Second part, we're at Outback with the family, and I remember my dad looking me in the face. He's like, "You're going to go out of business in the first 6 months. Watch. You don't know how to manage money. You're going to be, and I can't bail you out. So if you're going to do this, you're going to do this by yourself." So Outback was a pivotal moment
The
at
backstory.
that time. I don't know why. It's, I guess the only steakhouse I could afford at the time, whatever the case is. But no, I remember that very clearly. So to answer your question about like what my parents felt, they were very scared, but there was literally nothing left that they could scare me with. I already went through the ringer multiple times, pulled myself out, and quite frankly, like they built a safety net. I don't think they give themselves enough credit. They built themselves a safety net here for me to piggyback off. And that's how I looked at it. So if I failed, I'm not homeless. I still
I
have the
love
love
it.
of the family.
For as a new parent, I hope I will be able to build that room for opportunities for my future kids and my current daughter. So hopefully I'll remember that for the next 2 decades to come. And for
Yeah.
you, it was Outback. I remember for me, it was a barber. I was at my friend's barber shop, and he's from Turkey, another country from that region. And yeah, I pick up the phone from my father, and he started yelling at me, and everyone was like looking at me in the barbershop, like, "What's going on?" And I was, "No, I just thought I'd start my own company." It was a bit shock for him as well. But in the beginning, 2011, started business. Was there anything that surprised you in a positive or negative way, that, hey, I wasn't expecting that overload of information and things I need to be doing, versus, as during your sales rep times, or maybe something on the positive side, like, hey, I love it. It's fun to do it.
Yeah, I mean, whenever you start anything, you always have that high, right? Like it's just you finally made the decision to take the first step. And that's, everybody's like, how'd you do it? Just take the first step. That's it. And so that was my positive, having my company name, figuring out the logo, doing the business card, imposter syndrome. Like I own a business. I'm big man in the house, whatever. Once you start taking it seriously, then you start realizing all the things you got to sharpen your skills on. And that becomes the hurdles you constantly have to overcome. Some people are in denial and it takes them years. Some people do it right away and it could cripple them. I think for me, it was a cyclical, go through the phase like, oh, you took the first step, you're going to succeed. Then you do an audit. What am I doing that's like generating the income? What activities are generating income? Then you're like, oh my God, like, scrolling on Facebook isn't going to make me money. And then that's when I really learned about the 80-20, right? So you try to focus on the top 20% that's going to generate 80% of your income, right? And I think once that stuck, it helped me analyze what I was doing. And then it gave me more confidence to like improve. Because the longer you delay on the improvement, I mean, you're going to one thing about entrepreneurship is persistence. So if you're truly going to like be a good entrepreneur, you're going to be persistent. So it might take you 100 years, or it might take you 2 years. But in my mind, the journey is the same. The wise guys kind of do it in 2 years. The stubborn guys do it 100 years. But at the end of the day, it's persistence and being self-aware. And that was my struggle, honestly, in the beginning. Like I just kind of hindered that voice. And then after I hit my 5-year mark, I was like, oh, wow, you made 5 years. Okay, great. But what did you really accomplish in that 5 years? Then you hit your 10-year mark. Okay, great. Had a wake-up call. And I mean, I have a saying, I just don't want to swear, so I'm going to save it. I got to find a better way to say it.
I mean, well,
So the
that's
first
fine.
5 years you fuck around. Second 5 years you find out. Third 5 years is you figure out what you found out and turn it around. So, I fucked around. I figured, something along those lines. This might need to be clipped a little bit here.
The second one, the first one I know. What is the second one?
Fuck around, find out.
Find out.
Yep. And then figure it out.
3 Fs.
The
So
three
my
F's. And that's
food
how we
free,
got.
food free and fun. Other three favorite words.
Yep. Yeah. And yeah, I just came up with this the other day. They're like, wow, you've been in business for 15 years. How? Like, tell me your journey. I'm like, honestly, first 5 years, fucked around. Second 5 years, figured it out. And, or wait, find out. Then the last was figure it out. So I'm still trying to like get it in a way that I could like repeat it probably without, offending people. But this literally just happened this past weekend. But that was like a perfect summary of how I got to my journey. And kind of back to the persistence part. Like, most people would have gave up after 2 or 3 years of not making money. I put it in blocks of 5.
What's going to be the fourth, since you're nearing the fourth 5-year cycle? You thought about it already?
Something along the lines of like, you know, find the fruits, I guess, if I want to keep the F train going.
Yeah, you have to find something with the F. Have
Yeah,
fun with it, something like
yeah,
that.
something. Yeah, I don't
Fruits.
know.
Enjoy the fruits of your labor. That's another
That's
one.
kind of something to enjoy the fruits. Like right now, my journey is like enjoy the family, right? So you work as an entrepreneur to create, to buy back your time, so you could focus in your, zone of genius and whatever that may be. But ultimately for what, right? To be with the loved ones and enjoy the time with them. So I think that's my next chapter is free up my time to be with the family. And then, because you never get that time back. The money will
Yeah.
come, everything will come. And I got a 3-year-old, a 1.5-year-old, and one in the oven. So I'm gonna have
Congrats.
3 kids. Thank you. 3 kids under 3 at 40 years old. It's not your orthodox way with my parents' eyes. I'm late and I'm no good.
Yeah.
Everything happens for a reason. So yeah, my next chapter would be something along the lines of freedom, family, and something to reap the fruits of my labor.
Yeah, no, that's a big one. I mean, those are the lessons from those who were before us. Like I had a few guests who that were talking about it in detail because of what you just mentioned. Like they're actually hands-on drivers in the beginning in the transportation industry. So the first 5 to 10 years they were like at home maybe one every 7 days. And it's like if I can't even comprehend, I can't even wrap my head around it. Like this would be my daughter is 6 months old, actually tomorrow. So I mean, I can't imagine being away from home for like a week or 2 weeks. I had some friends that were doing business from Europe, where I'm from, that came here every like twice a year for 3 to 6 months, 6 weeks. I'm sorry. I'm like what, and they brought their family only like once a year for like vacation, and it's like, how can you stay away from family for so long? Like this is tough.
I mean, if there's something like good on the other end of it, you could kind of justify it. Like if I disappeared, I always tell myself, could I disappear for 6 months to buy 6 years of my future life? Would you be able to do that? Would you sacrifice 6 months of not seeing or talking to your family to buy 6 years in the future?
It's a good way to look at it.
You know, or whatever, even shorten it, like say 6 days for 6 months. I don't know, something. I'm
Yeah.
just using numbers here, but that's why I keep telling my wife, it's like, what's the big goal? Like, when the kids are out of college and they're out of high school or whatever, they're gonna be, they don't want anything to do with you. So while they're from 0 to 6 months, there's not much I could do other than support my wife, and be there, right? The kids aren't really nurturing with dad as much. So I'm supporting my wife, right? But from 0 to 6, so go 6 months to 6 years, that to me is the most crucial. And then obviously from 6 to 12, but then, every 6 years after that, it's like, so you only really get like 2 or 3 batches of those 6 year increments, right? So for me, it's like if I could sacrifice a year, let's say, but be with my kids from year 2 until 12 or 15, I would do that all day long. So to your point, if there was no light at the end of the tunnel for those people that could do that, then no, I agree with you 100%. But if you could sacrifice to get something more valuable in the future, then there's a right place and time for it. But again, it really comes down to the person too. I can't
Exactly.
imagine being away from my kids. And if I were, it would have to be that mindset that I'm going to get it back somehow. But then again, I'm not doing it, so I don't know. I'm just thinking if I was in that shoes, that's how I would have to think about it.
It depends on the person, like you said. There's definitely, I feel like in many cases it became a habit of like, just it's fine. I will just accept it, and it is what it is. And obviously they were, I don't want to say workaholics, but they were like obsessed and dedicated ones. They're building company goes be in front of everything else, and that's the most important. Obviously, they provide for family like financial wealth and all that, but that sometimes isn't enough to have a good relationship with your kids, as I noticed.
100%.
Being living in Southern California, where most people come here to retire, and you see a lot of wealthy people that have amassed like huge wealth, and they have absolutely zero relationship and relevance to their kids. That's sad, and especially in the later age where they need some help, and they have to ask someone else, people that they don't know for help, and it's just sad. But yeah, let's shift away from it, unless you want to add something to it, or
No, you hit the nail on the head. So I agree with you. Yeah, we definitely can move on.
exactly. Let's talk about Prestige Worldwide. By the way, the logo looks legit. I like the footer from all of your team members. I had a chance to exchanging emails with, I think, two or three of them. So I know you didn't have a budget in the beginning to drop K like Steve Jobs did on a logo designer idea. I don't even know if he spent it on designing the concept, just the concept, or designing the actual logo. But it looks good. Just a feedback on that.
Thank you.
And the footers, the logos in the footer are also in the signature, also very they stand out definitely. So let's talk about Prestige Worldwide Logistics. Who do you primarily serve right now? I saw you're talking about e-commerce on LinkedIn, but I can imagine as a logistic company, you do also all kinds of different industries, or companies that you serve.
Yeah. The short answer is small, medium-sized manufacturers, it really doesn't matter what they manufacture because everything goes in the truck, whether it's a enclosed dry van or a refrigerated truck or a flatbed. Our job is to essentially match the right trucker with the right customer's needs.
Hmm.
And I mean, it's a simple concept, but from doing it for 15 years, we took a shotgun approach to the market, and we're more interested in finding the people that appreciate what we bring. We're problem solvers. I mean, anybody could like schedule a truck, come pick up and deliver. Here's the price on the invoice. But then when that stuff doesn't go as planned, and you, the manufacturer, or distributor, or retailer, whatever the case is, your product doesn't deliver, your sales aren't going to resonate, right? So we understand that. So we look at clients that treat us as a partner. There's so many things that could go wrong in shipping. Anything could happen. So that's when we shine best. Honestly, to make our job as easy as possible, we try to be as proactive as possible, vetting all, making sure that they're, good communicators. They have a good history. They are obviously vetted with insurance and whatnot. They understand the need for the job. And then more importantly, if an issue does arise, we instantly not only like assess the problem, but we come with a solution. So, I mean, in summary, we've found a lot of success with e-commerce companies. We've found success with consumer packaged goods. I mean, we ship to all the Sam's Clubs, the Costco's in the nation, the Targets, the Best Buys, any big box retailer we deal with. We know which carrier, work with them on an appointment basis. So we've done a lot of trial and error with multiple clients from startups all the way to, enterprise level companies. And everybody in our company has worked at a trucking company and a brokerage. So everybody's come from the ground up. So that's on a huge differentiator. They're an extension of me. So whenever you work with me, you work with my team. But then more importantly, they saw the trucks. They saw the warehouse. They saw the operating systems. They're not imagining it. They saw it. They put their hands on it. And they worked up the ranks until they got to the point here. And they love working with us because we problem solve. Like if you're with a trucking company and your truck flipped over, what are you going to do? That's your truck. So that's where we come in. We could even get a wrecker to come unload the product, put it in a new truck, deliver if needed. So really outside of the box thinking. And that only works with people that have physically seen it and touched it.
Hands-on experience absolutely helps here. And you mentioned e-commerce. We've been in the e-commerce world for 5 years pretty much. So we've been doing the first 5 years of the F cycle.
Yeah. 5 years of the up
We've
cycle.
dealt with many e-commerce brands, and from both consumer and the brand perspective, shipping is still the I still have problems pronouncing th, so pardon me there. The biggest problem that they experience, and you hear customers mainly talking about that. So that's where a problem-solving company like yours could come in and step in and provide best solutions. Now you've mentioned, it sounded like honesty as almost like a sales weapon, if you can. How, from a founder's perspective and an executive, I can imagine how you execute that. But what about your team? How were you able to build a team around that to deliver the bad news, to find solutions for the bad news and bad situations quickly, and be responsive and communicative with your clients and customers?
I give my team full autonomy until our core value is trust. That's one of them, right? And trust is earned, it's not just given. But when somebody, especially new, they work so hard to earn their trust, like I trust in them. So I walk them through the process of put yourself in the customer's shoes. Don't come to me when there's a problem. First, assess what you think is going on, validate what's going on, and then come with 3 solutions you think will resolve this. And then if you want my input, you can get my input. And this all needs to be done within minutes. If you can't solve it within minutes, you need to communicate it within minutes. Communication is key. That's how you're going to earn trust if you can't communicate properly, right? So, if it's something as simple as the truck didn't pick up on time or deliver on time, that's a simple one. Okay, why didn't it? What are we going to do to prevent this from happening again? Okay, we understand it. We validate it. We talk to the trucker directly, not through a chain of people. And then what's the solution? Send in another truck, push it for tomorrow, offer a discount. So that's kind of like the little process. But let's go a little bit more severe. Like, we've had only one rollover incident in our career, where it was going to a Costco, and if you're not meeting the Costco, delivery appointments and times, they're not going to put your product on the shelf, and you lost that entire sale. So it's a big deal. The truck rolled over. That one is like a no-brainer. Immediately, we needed to make sure that the driver was okay, that we got a wrecker going out to the site to clear out the highway. Immediately needed to notify the customer. Just got yelled at, part of the job, obviously. But we told them to prepare, a second batch of items that we'll expedite so that we could still meet the Costco deadline. And then we'll send whatever the salvaged items from the wreck could come back. Unfortunately, that driver actually did pass away several days later, so it's one of the most traumatic experiences we've had because it's like we felt like a doctor giving bad news. And we reached out to the family, sent our condolences, but like that is a severe situation. Like it was a freak accident. It wasn't like a drunk driving or anything like that. It was just a tire went out, lost control, hit a ditch, flipped over. Priority was to take care of the situation, like, police and ambulance and all that. And we, obviously there's people there calling the ambulance and whatnot, but we are like, hey, we're the broker on this situation. So like if there's anything you need to communicate with the trucking company and the broker, we raised our hand. We were there to support that trucking company and immediately notified the customer to send a recovery shipment out. So, I mean, like something like that, people would have probably sat on it for like a day until they got a report, and then they would have assessed what to do. And then, maybe not answer the phone calls right away because it's chaos and they don't have an answer. I know I got off on a tangent there, but that was a very deep moment. I mean, that was really one of those, as an owner, you just don't want to hear that phone call. But my team handled it very well. They did the exact process. This is what happened. It's been validated. Here's the three options. This is what I think we should do. What do you think? And that eliminated the hours or even honestly several minutes of wasting time. We just jumped on it with intention. Hopefully that nobody experiences that. That was a tough one.
Yeah, that was a tough one. Left me kind of speechless there because I could imagine myself being in that position to having to communicate that to family and then everyone else. I've dealt with that once. Actually, a family member who has a transportation business in Europe. He had this situation. So I was during the time around. And here in US, so I was part of a different company. I was the bad news deliverer, if you can call it. And I was yelled at many times or thrown things at many times, but it's not as extreme. I mean, nothing comes close to losing your life at work. That's devastating, and I can imagine still, how tough it was for everyone involved. And there's business that needs to be operated at the end of the day, and it happens. So
Yeah, I
unfortunately,
mean,
very
it's a
unfortunate.
we get we get shocked quite a bit, but you got to move fast. Can't be sloppy. You got to stay grounded. You got to operate in clarity in a world of chaos. And honestly, I mean, I probably should write that one down. We definitely operate in clarity in a world of chaos. And I think that is one of our biggest differentiators because the last thing I want is a frantic person to come to me and then make me frantic to not be able to answer with a solution clearly because, you know, we've all talked to that frantic person. They don't talk with words, they talk with like tones and energy, and you just can't get to the root cause of the issue that way. And if it does, it's like, so yeah, it's a chaotic world out there, man, especially in
It
the
is.
shipping world.
It is. But I like the rule, the three solution ideas rule that you've had with your team to essentially, instead of coming up with a problem, which happens, I can imagine in the beginning, but sounds like you have a very experienced team of 37 plus years of combined experience, so they know how to handle it. But I've been through teams where the problem arose, and the first second the problem is there, they just communicate the problem to you. But why don't you just take a moment to suggest, to think about and suggest one or two, in your case, three solutions, what can be done in that case. And that's is absolutely appreciated by all executives and also by the other side, other party. Like they will appreciate that we are thinking already about solution, and things happen, you can undo it. And what can you do, right? You can't, in Poland there's a saying that say you can't cry over spilled milk. It's already spilled, it's already on the floor. You cry about it. You want a milk, you can't get milk now. You have to wait until you get another batch. So deal with that situation, right? And clean it up and move on. That's the
Absolutely.
best way. Now, can you imagine you have some processes and playbooks that help you get noticed by the national rankings, like the Inc. 5,000? Has that helped you with the company growth, or maybe client acquisition, or marketing purposes that you've noticed, or maybe retention, team retention, talent retention as well, because everyone wants to work for the best.
Yeah. No, I think when it comes to that kind of stuff on the client side of things, there is a bit of credibility, right? Like, some people honestly don't even know what the Inc. 5000 is, and the ones that do give recognition, but I think it was more for us internally as like affirmations that we are doing a good job, right? When we shared it with our clients, good job, they would say. But what does that mean for me is probably what I really sensed. And when it comes to vendors, for sure, everybody's all of a sudden like, oh, you made the Inc. 5000. That means you guys are sitting on a bank. You're making money hand over fist. It's like, well, no, that's not what that means. It means we grew very quickly. It doesn't mean we profited a lot. So there is that, but I think credibility is the best word to describe that. We've definitely scaled more than, I mean, especially with the ranking we got for 2 years back to back. We got a lot of recognition in the logistics space. We were like, ranked number 23 nationwide, number 5 in, the Midwest. It really did help, especially when we're working with like vendors, the trucking companies. They see that. They're like, okay, this company is sound. They've been there, right? The customers, again, they appreciate it, but I don't think it was a retention tool as much as I was hoping for. Probably shouldn't say that online because Zoom 5000 wants you to feel that that's the case. But I think it opened the door to many partners.
That yeah, that's there's definitely that, and like you said, you've been going through the third 5-year cycle, and that's affirmation that hey, I'm doing something right here. It's been 15 years, probably went by quickly, but we have something here, and we're gonna continue to grow it. And there's definitely that excitement that can come from it, and confirmation and affirmation for it. What are some of the future moves? What is the North Star for PWL?
So we've been a founder-led company for some time, especially on the sales front. As I mentioned, we're going on the fourth cycle of the F cycle family and something fruits. So I think it's time to put the right people in the right seats, implement EOS, entrepreneurial operating system, fully. Yeah, we've been self-implementing for some time and it's helped, but now I think it's time to put the pedal to the metal and go full force with that. So, finding your implementer, your integrator, redefining your 10-year, 3-year, 1 year kind of. And then obviously when you put the whole thing together, that would clarify our North Star. For me, I definitely see myself being put in, what they call the founders box, where I come in with the ideas, the 100 ideas. Right now I'm in the visionary seat, but come with the 100 ideas. I really do see a future with AI. I'm sure everybody does. So I really want to put my efforts into, mentoring the younger generation, implementing EOS, implementing AI, and just be the 10.0 version of yourself. Lead by example. So that's more of a me personal thing. But I think when everybody in the company sees what the owner's doing on a personal development level, it's going to level them up, and that will level the company. You build the team builds the company.
And the
So
business reflection of yourself as well, especially in the beginning, until you're in that position that you're getting yourself into right now. With EOS, I saw that it stood out right away to me. I think that's a smart move, because that's gonna bring the structure for you. That's what I see among companies that are succeeding in different industries. So that's the right move there. What's you've mentioned AI. Are there any tech or AI innovations, let's say, that you're excited about? Maybe you've implemented already, or you're looking forward to be implementing?
yeah, I mean, I think there's so much you could do with it. So you got to really focus on what your pain points are, where your bottleneck at, and kind of start there. So for us, we've been in a freight, well, not just for us, the entire industry has been in a freight recession up until the beginning of this year. And then, we got the whole tariff war. So everybody's kind of just on thin ice right now to see what's going to happen. So I truly believe there's going to be a big boom. But post COVID, we saw like a huge increase in just labor rates, right? And everything has gone skyrocket. The margins have been cut, and it's at the point where everybody's operating on tight margins. I've always wanted to keep a lean and mean staff. I didn't want to go hire, thousands of people, hundreds of people, and then lay them off. So I see AI being like a tool to turn our reps into like superhumans, if you will. It's going to take a minute for them to kind of get molded into the idea of it because, when you're doing something so good yourself, it's hard to trust in a tool like that to just do your job, right? Like it is. I mean, but the truth is, you could probably 10x, 20x. So on the operational side, you could probably respond to emails quicker. You could probably vet things better. On the front end sales side, you could probably lead gen much quicker, qualify much better. Even if you do social selling, there's a lot of things there. So we're ironing out where we need to implement it right now. I think I don't have an idea that's going to revolutionize the world. I think there will come a day where the robots are talking to the trucking robots, which are talking to the broker software, which is talking to the manufacturing software. So as soon as you put an order in, all the robots and all the systems will connect. I do see a world like that, I think we're far away from that. There's so many variables that the AI would need to learn a lot. And I just don't think that the database is there yet because it's so fragmented, the industry. Like the biggest player owns less than 10% of the market share. So it might work for my batch of customers, but what works for my batch of customers might not work for the entire industry. So I think there's a lot of evolving that's going to happen. So on an internal level, I think it'll help. On a macro level, I think it's going to take time to get perfected.
What to say is that you're using AI to and not to replace human but to enhance human, and I like that fact because that's definitely what AI does. If it was like essentially it knows almost everything that exists on the internet out there, so we have to agree on that. But also, if there was a playbook for good to great, for example, the book comes to mind that how Apple came around and all those big corporations, big companies. If that was like a plug and play playbook for every business, then we'd only have $1 trillion companies around, and no one. I don't know what else we would be doing, right? But it's not as easy. So I agree with you. We should use it to enhance what we're doing, speed up certain things, automate tasks that we're doing repeatedly that take time, but we don't necessarily have to be as attentive at this, and then use that for our advantage. That's a smart way to approach it. And you were mentioning something in the beginning of your comment right now that made me. I know I don't show it on the on my body with my body language because I want to keep it professional. Internally, I was ecstatic to hear that hopefulness, that optimism, that yes, we had a recession, or the tracking industry had a recession in the recession, but there's hope. There'll be a boom. There will be something positive happening because based on the previous interviews and guests and reading the news, there was no hopefulness and no optimism at all. So I'm glad to hear that from you directly. So yeah.
And there's an opportunity in every crisis. If you're doing the same thing over and over and not getting the results, you're insane, right? So that's, I think, another reason why we have succeeded so well is that if something doesn't work, we don't change the goal, we change the plan. And that sucks because you have to, I mean, my employees hate me for as many times we have to change things because they just like stability, but like you like your job, right? You don't want to like get to the point where the job's not there anymore because we didn't want to adapt. And then we made that our core value. So you have to adapt, like whether you're hired for a job or, you got to do something else until it's adaptability. If you're not adapting, you're dying.
I like it. Yeah, only the fittest, the survival of the fittest, as they say. You have to adopt to the
Yeah.
circumstances and the environment. Last question to finish out because we went a bit over time here, and I know you're still in the middle of your workday. Founder's mindset. I know you're into fitness and health. I saw a Whoop on your hand. No promotion yet from Whoop, but I had a yeah, I can see you're taking care of yourself and you're paying attention to a lot of data because Whoop gives you a lot of data every morning.
Yeah.
What else do you do, or what do you do to stay sane during chaotic times, more stressful times, and how do you stay sane? How do you stay focused?
That's a whole podcast on itself. Let me think of how to summarize it really quick. So you got to be self-aware, right? I mean, there's so many health tricks out there. You got to be self-aware of what you need. My first suggestion to anybody is come to peace with whatever your vices are. Stop escaping. That's the first one. Once you become more balanced and you're level-headed, then you got to face the demon. It's going to be tough. So, assuming you're facing the demon, you need to know what to do. One thing, get up every day at the same time. It's just the consistency compounds. It's the truth. So get up. I get up at 6. My goal is to get up at 4:30, but with the little ones, I'm kind of like struggling with that one. But I'm preparing myself for a day where 4:30 will be acceptable and a non-negotiable, quite frankly. So I'll make my decisions the night prior to make sure that my day started on the right note. So wake up every day at the same time. Have your like non-negotiables. You got to have like a talk with yourself. These are the three to five things you got to do, non-negotiable. And again, through the consistency, it's going to compound and it's just going to become a new identity you build. So whether it's read a book every day, whether it's journal every day, I say work out every day. So wake up at the same time every day, work out every day. The journaling definitely helps. I tend to find myself like journaling the same thing over and over and over, like my gratitude, my affirmations. And I'm like, why do I keep writing this? Like, it's still not sticking. So what I've done is I've used ChatGPT. I started like journaling on ChatGPT, and now I have like my morning reset prompt. What's your wins? What is priorities? And then it tells you like, hey, you're feeling sluggish today. Maybe don't try to conquer the world today. It was a good saying. I forgot what it was today. Man, it bothers me. I wish I had it in front. What's that?
Who said it?
My ChatGPT.
Well, that should be
Yeah,
the
it's
end of the world.
yeah, that's what it is. It's mindset anchor. Some days you build the empire, some days you protect the foundation of the empire. So not every day is a day you have to build. Some days it's just to protect.
Napoleon could have said it.
Probably, I don't know. So I'm going off ChatGPT on this one, but I was like, I did not feel grounded today. I'm tired. I'm sluggish. I took my Whoop metrics. I took my goals. I took the all the different metrics for the fitness. I plugged it into ChatGPT, and I'm like, just tell me what I need to know. And it actually gives you these, mindset anchors. So, for somebody that's struggling with trying to make sense of everything around them, knowledge overload, simplify. Throw that stuff into ChatGPT, ask it, like act like a, counselor and talk to me like a high schooler and break down what I'm feeling today. And that one sentence could rewire the entire outlook for the day because it's knowledge overload.
It's
So
super powerful.
simplify is the answer.
Super powerful for learning new skills. And what you said, I have it. I use it for similar purposes where I have my chats. I created like a project, a folder called Mindset, and essentially in that folder I have things where I talk about the books I've read or want to get a reminder on, or maybe books I want to read to give me a an idea of how it could help me. And it obviously knows a lot about you at this point, so it can be pretty strategic there.
Yeah.
And also like learning about maybe sometimes anything that can level up your intelligence, your art, maybe about art, maybe about fitness, maybe about health, maybe about biohacking, maybe about peptides or supplementations or
That's what
anything.
I'm saying. There's a whole podcast we could go over. I'm like, I don't know how to summarize this so quickly because I'm like, peptides, let's talk about that. How like even when it comes to reading, I have ADD, so I can't really like focus as hard. So I was like, wait a sec. I go to Headway to see if a book is I'm interested in a book. Then I go to Audible so I could listen to it on the way to and from wherever I'm going. Then I buy the book so I could like highlight. I mean, there's the books right there. Like it's so I have a little process for it to like stick. And it's frustrating because you're paying like 3 times the amount for the same knowledge. But it
Yeah.
doesn't matter how much it costs. It's how much it sticks. And I like your mindset project. I'm probably still on that.
Two tools that you might like that I can recommend before we get off. First is Speechify. It's like Audible, like hated reading until 2017. That's when I discovered some type of like personal development through a famous YouTube video here in my garage. Maybe you've seen it by one of the marketing gurus out there, Ty Lopez. He created this video here in my garage with his Lamborghini, and you didn't never seen it.
I don't think so. I need to though.
Yeah, look it up. It's essentially he was selling his course. He was like an OG social media marketing guy and course guy. He's still around, obviously, but he created this one video. I remember sitting on my mom's couch, not knowing what to do, and I it was like 1 a.m. and the ad popped up. The ad was seen. The video has been seen by like 70 million people on YouTube alone
Jesus.
or something like crazy. Yeah, and he was sitting in his garage in the back of behind the Lamborghini and a Ferrari, I think it was a Ferrari, whatever, there was a bookshelf with like hundreds or maybe even 1,000 books. I was in multiple bookshelves. And he talked about, reading and all that. And I was like, I was excited about the idea of being able to read a book, but I knew from school, like I was not bad at school and I went through schools in 3 different countries. I had to learn 3 different languages to communicate and obviously be able to go through schools. But reading, like the moment I picked up the book, I couldn't focus. Like I read one page and my focus was gone. I had no idea what I read about. My comprehension wasn't nearly at 40%, maybe 30%, nearly where it needs to be. So I was like, pointless. Like, why would I read? But I love the idea of being able to learn something and read a biography or read something, about personal development, something that will improve your communication skills or any other skills. So this guy convinced me to give it a try. And shortly after that, during one method of reading, he said that why don't you grab an audiobook, read with your eyes, so you have that voice that slows you down in your head when you read, that makes you read at 120 words per minute instead of 3 or 400 or maybe higher. So I gave it a try, and I read in one year. I read like 150, I think, 6 books in
Wow.
5 years ago. I had a year where I was like Audible and books every morning. Like I would read for like an hour in the morning, wake up early, 1 hour before work, and read every opportunity I get. So that was super helpful. And Speechify turns any text on your computer, on your iPhone or iPad into essentially for Audible version, like audio version, and you can pick any voice you want. Like I like some British accent because it sounds more intelligent, and it's like calming at the same time. So you can literally take a screenshot of your page, whatever it is, an article. It will read it for you. You can upload PDFs. You can upload books if you want. So that's one tool that I recommend. Second would be Freewrite. Free as in freedom, right? You said journaling. So this app is essentially it's like a attention focus blocker. So you will open this app either in your browser or a desktop version. If you open the desktop version, you can literally clear up your desktop and you will only have this app. It will count 10, I think 15 minutes for you where your only job is to write. You can edit it, just free write, whatever you want. And then if you want,
You're right.
exactly, free write. So after the 15 minutes or when you're done writing, you can push it to ChatGPT if you integrate it with ChatGPT if you wanted to. So essentially, ChatGPT will analyze what you just wrote and journaled about. And I've been using it for a couple of weeks now, on and off, and I fall in love with it more and more. Like I have this like some internal like blockers. I don't know, like what am I gonna write about, or I don't want to do 15 minutes. You know what I mean? But when you find that time, like there's
Yeah.
something interesting that's happening, with your ideas, with the concepts you had in mind.
100% to that point. I want you to look up one day.
One day,
Yeah. So it sounds like a free write, different, but a journaling thing. Pretty sure it's called One Day App.
I
I'm
see
sorry.
it. Yeah, I have it. Day one app.
Day One app. Yeah, sorry. So the cool thing about this is you could create templates. So what I did, go to ChatGPT, say, hey, write, this is what I'm trying to achieve. What is like a format for journaling? Because there's a million different types. Like if you want for fitness, for mindset, the one thing I liked about one is you could customize it however you want. Once you have a custom format you want, it gives you prompts, like questions to ask yourself throughout the day. And that's been very helpful. It's like, what's one thing you want to accomplish this week, as an example? Or it's like, what's one thing you remember in the past month that just stuck to you? First thing that comes to mind, just random prompts. It gives you questions. Secondly, you could post like photos. So, like, a year from now, this journal will send you a reminder, kind of like a Google Photo, Apple reminders. So it was a few different things in one. And then you could do it on your computer, you could do it on your phone, and then they actually have like a journal you could write in and like scan it and it uploads it to it. And then you could even text it. Because
That's
that was the
cool.
other thing. I'm like, I want to write. I want to write. I had the 5 minute journal, and I love the 5 minute journal. You know, it gives you your affirmations, your gratitudes. What are you going to accomplish today? What do you reflect on in the day? But then it's like I focus so much on the grammar than the actual
Yeah.
message. So that's why I was like, all right, I need something not so. But the fact of like to your point, the distraction, free write. But I like to free write and then like kind of reword it in a way of what I truly mean in less words. Throw a couple emojis in there like a rocket or something, and then tag a photo so it like all resonates. So I mean, if I'm curious if you look at it, what your input is because I haven't seen Freewrite, but I hope I kind of described this one.
I can imagine it. It's similar. I've been using a app called Stoic for there. It counts your kind of like your like Duolingo, your streak days. So I've been using it for like nearly 1,000 days, maybe even more than 1,000 days. So it's in the beginning. It's a Polish. Thank you. It's a Polish app. I didn't know it's Polish until recently. They started tweeting about it. The founders started tweeting about it, and honestly, in the beginning, it was very, very basic. So we started making a lot of, or the users, me included, start making a lot of suggestions. So they start improving. They're not where they want it is. I like those ideas. I will give it a try with like reminders and photos. Something about photos. I start like whenever I use, for example, Apple Notes for journaling when I'm on the go or when I just want to journal when I have some ideas or some notes that I want to take, mental notes, uh, pictures. I started taking pictures of where I am, and it's been something like anchoring element to it where you gonna remember it. I was sitting here, like who said it, like you always remember where you were, during 9/11. Like you this is anchored in your mind, so those pictures are similar element to it. So that's probably why day one is so successful. It looks like number one journaling app out there.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'll
And then
take
the
a look.
face to camera too. That's like another part of it. So if you're on
Mm,
the go and you just have a quick thought, just
yeah.
videotape that real quick, have it transcribed. There's your journal. You didn't have to write anything. It's like from the soul. So there was a lot of benefits I found from it, but there's so many tools out there. You just got to find the one that works, stick with it. Yeah. You
It's
know,
hard
so
to consistency is the biggest thing. But the talking to it is amazing. I'm going through this communication 30-day challenge where you have to record yourself and then you listen to yourself without video, then you watch the video without sound, and then you read the transcript. The moment you read the transcript, I am pissed every time I read it. I'm like, why in the world? It's like 5 minutes in one sentence. Where are the punctuations in my communication? Where's the pauses? Where's the periods? Where's
I
the
think that it's just because we're bilingual, it's harder for us. Like we're gonna have to clip this part out, but there was a study that if you are bilingual, you are like a significantly more percent intellectual than somebody that's not bilingual because growing up we had to use the brain differently. So I struggled to believe that because I was like, there's so many people that are smarter than me. But the fact that we're able to speak two languages, in your case, three, that took a part of the brain, which really didn't leave room for the other parts of the brain to learn. So it's like I don't want to say sacrifice, but kind of almost did. To learn a whole new language, we did take capacity of a brain that we probably could have learned something else with.
you just change the whole self view I had for the last 30 years of my life. Because
Yeah.
no one ever said this to me. That's pretty powerful right there. So I had like you're right. When I moved to a different country, I had no idea what everyone talks is talking to me. So I had to sacrifice everything else, my mental capacity, to just learn the language. So I was walking, it was before smartphones, so I had to walk with that heavy. We had those yellow, I don't think you have them in the United States, but those yellow big dictionaries with an L on front on the cover. And I
See.
was walking with that thing everywhere. Every time someone asked me something, I was looking up words. I got so fast at it. Like I was really good at this. And, I was the only kid at school doing that. No one
Yeah.
gave a shit if you, part of my French there. But I just wanted to figure out how to communicate and understand what people talk to me. So that was my 100% focus, 110% focus. So you're right. And then with English, I learned English at school, but when I got here, I didn't have the flow of the language, and people were talking fast. I couldn't understand,
And then
radio
slang.
or anything. It was, slang, a lot of slang. But luckily in America, go by their some people go by their lives with like 100 words. Well, that's cool. Easy enough to understand, but
That's funny.
communication, like it's one thing is to understand, then to communicate back to someone. That was like the toughest part. So again, my mental capacity went into that. So yeah, thanks so much for opening my mind to that. I never looked at myself from that perspective.
Yeah, I always thought I was crazy, but yeah, somebody mentioned it to me, and I was like, wait a second, like my brain moves so fast and in ways of like ideas that I struggle to put it into words. So it's like my communication isn't as strong as what I'm trying to say, but when I communicate it clearly, and I was like, wait a second, why is that? I'm like, oh, because half the time, like when I'm speaking Arabic, it's in English in my head, so I got to translate. And then by the time it's the idea, translate out, wait, it's like, and
So
I'm
many
like, wait a
processes.
second, it's like a whole nother process going in the background that it's not even fair.
Yeah.
Like, and nobody sees that. It's all in your head, you know what I mean? So, well, I feel like we're going to become best friends after this. So thank you for your time, man.
I appreciate you, Hightown. It was a pleasure, and thank you so much for your time. It was a pleasure, and absolutely, we'll definitely continue the conversation afterwards, and maybe do another episode one day. Thank you so much. It was a pleasure, and looking forward to see your company hit the Inc. 500, and then see you in Forbes list one day, hopefully.
Thank you. Appreciate it.